guys want to hear that sound? You know what that is?
I'm going to want to sit back. I can already tell.
Then take the thing out. Pull this out.
No, I'll stay up here, I think.
That was a fresh crack open of a ZV.
Are we on?
Yeah. I'm trying the grape today. I've never tried grape. I hate grape.
Grape flavored things is stupid. Did you know grapes and raisins are toxic to dogs?
Yes.
I did not.
Did you know raisins are the worst thing on earth?
Raisins are delicious.
Nope. Raisins are not chill.
You've
not
got some
sick.
black speckles of life on your face.
God, I want them there. I think it's leftover campfire. What is it?
I don't know. It's still there.
It's probably just dirt. It's just kicked into my face at this point.
Did you have sex with a black stuffed animal?
No.
Because that's what it looked like.
So is black fuzz.
Yeah. Inappropriate.
Inappropriate.
Cheers.
So you've got coffee and ZV.
Vodka.
Oh, damn. It's like that? What time is it?
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Debatable.
Actually, I don't think it is.
In theory. So I'm your host, KMC. We have Chloe next to me. You guys don't know Chloe.
Big sigh, Chloe.
Big
I
sigh.
know. I just got a little worked up.
So as a lot of you guys know, my sobriety is kind of been like my defining characteristic in the industry a little bit. It's definitely one of the things I'm more well known for because it's definitely not my athleticism. So, I'm definitely known as kind of like the sober athlete. And so Chloe, as many of you might know and many of you might not know, also has a unique defining characteristic in the fitness industry.
It's like a tagline.
How do you figure it's a tagline?
I don't know. That I am transgender.
Oh, shit.
Hi, maybe you knew. Maybe you didn't.
Surprise.
Surprise! Hey. So, do you want to go ahead and clarify on that more?
Like what that means?
Right, because I think there's a lot of confusion.
A lot of, yeah.
And there's a lot of, obviously,
Misinformation.
Yeah. And one thing I think, I'll let you go ahead and talk first. Kind of just tell.
And also remind me to get back to what the T means in the LGBT.
Right.
Like, let's go over that. I'm transgender, so it means that I was born male and transitioned to female at some point in my life.
Which was, 11 years ago?
A long time ago.
Well, now go ahead and go. Yeah, right. Go ahead. Let's go ahead and clarify what transition means, because I think there's a lot of confusion as to if transition means, like obviously you started living as a female prior to having the operation, but at what point, what is the definition of transition?
Transitioned, going from one gender to the other. Living as.
And
so you don't have to have gender confirmation surgery,
right,
or sex reassignment surgery to identify as your gender.
It's a social construct. Mm-hmm. So it's all like gender. Sex is biological. Your sex, if you're male or female, but gender's different. Mm-hmm. It's
like there are 5 tastes and multiple flavors.
Mm-hmm.
This is true. There you go.
Yes.
Leave it to Rye Face to make the culinary analogy.
Gender now isn't super binary.
Right.
It's not so black and white anymore. I transitioned when I was really, really young. Mm-hmm. I identified as transgender when I was 15, transitioned when I was 16, and then I had gender confirmation surgery.
Yep.
11 years ago.
And I love that it's called gender confirmation.
And not all transgender people identify as transgender.
Right.
I did not identify as transgender for a very long time. How many? Over 15 years.
You just identified as female.
Mm-hmm. It was very private.
Right.
Also, not everyone gets the surgery. That's up to them.
Right. And I don't think you need gender confirmation surgery to identify,
Yeah, some people don't.
Right.
I did. For me, it was like a life. To be complete, I had to.
Right.
But some people don't feel that way.
Right.
I don't understand that because that's not
how your brain works.
How my head works, but I can empathize with it.
So at what age did you realize that
So it's like really weird. Like when you're young, like for me, all I had to work with was gay or straight.
Right.
You know,
how old?
like,
You're 37.
Yeah, I'm 37. So I was born in 1979.
1942.
So all I had to work with was gay or straight. And from a very young age, I knew that I was attracted to men, but I also knew that I didn't feel like I was a boy.
Right.
I didn't know what that meant.
Right.
And like,
at what age do you remember that happening?
I mean, I knew I wanted to be a girl. I think that was forever.
Right.
Because when we were young and like at daycare and babysitters, like I always played the feminine role when we played house or like played games. And
right.
my family, I always had Barbie and My Little Pony. Like my family gave me whatever I wanted.
Yeah.
But I think I saw it on a talk show, like Jerry Springer or Sally Jesse Raphael. It was like,
Jesus Christ, you are old.
yeah, I mean, half of you probably don't even know who Sally Jesse is. But I saw a transgender person on that show, and it was like, that's me. I mean,
so
that
cool.
wasn't me, because that was like high drama. But that's when I was able to put together what was going on for me.
So what year was it when you were 16? You was the 80s, right?
Yeah.
80s? Mm-hmm. You were 90s.
No.
What year were you born?
79 plus 16.
So 94. 5. That's hard.
I'm like looking
So
for
what-
Ryan to
I'm
like confirm.
Just watching.
So I have a question. When you were younger, what was that operation like back then? Because obviously it's been, you know, like with medical advancements in the past, even in the past, even since the year 2000, even since the year 2010, like how much, you know, like that surgery's progressed. Like what did you know about that surgery back then and the risks of it?
So this is the funny thing. I didn't care. I didn't care what the risks were.
It was a life or death situation for you, basically.
I just felt like I had to have it. Like no matter what it was going to be, I had to have it. The basic principles of the surgery have been the same. Just as time has gone on and technology has advanced, there's different ways to do it now.
I only know one way, and it's very graphic the way I word it. They push your dick in.
More or less,
Okay.
but
It's my favorite thing to say.
yeah, I mean, there's different ways to do it, but
So you transitioned around 16, and then you had the surgery at 26?
ish, yeah.
What were those 10 years like?
25
Like
maybe,
what?
25 maybe.
What was kind of like that's obviously 10 years to go, and you knew you wanted the surgery at 16, right?
So this is the part where the drugs came in.
Right.
So I was a super goody-goody in like elementary school, junior high school, like against drugs, part of the DARE program. I like volunteered with the Special Olympics. Like I was as like vanilla as you could be growing up. But I was also a nerd because I didn't really feel like I felt in any like social constructs in school. And then I did like color guard and spirit team, which was all like highly female populated sports.
So you transitioned in high school?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'll get there in a second.
Yeah.
So I did these sports like pre-transition. And so I got a lot of shit for it in school. So I was bullied for most of school. I mean, also bringing Barbies and My Little Ponies to school back then wasn't like as widely accepted. So I was bullied. I never told my family I was bullied. So the bullied and the transgender conversation all came out at the same time with my family. Because just one day in high school, I refused to go back to school. I was in freshman year, and I came out of French class, and some kids were throwing rocks at me, and like calling me faggot and gay, whatever. And one of the seniors stood up for me, and he like stopped them, and it was like really the first time someone I didn't know had stood up for me. And from that day, I just refused to go back to school. So my parents let me like hang out at home for like a week because I was a really good kid, and not tell them why I didn't want to go back to school. But after a week, they're like, okay, if you don't want to go back, we need to know why. And I just remember sitting at the wooden coffee table for like an hour, like steadfast. Like I just was not going to say a word. And I was just going to sit there until someone broke. Like one of my parents would give in and no one gave. And so then I just like told them everything at once. And so my dog's at the door trying to get in. So my parents, being the awesome parents that they were, went like immediately into advocacy. My mom found what school I could transfer to. There was like a more open-minded school. My dad helped her with anything that she needed. They were just on it. What therapy I needed, what doctors I needed to see, like everything. They handled it all for me. Mm-hmm. And so sophomore year, I went to a different school. I finished halfway into the year. I took my proficiency to leave school. At the same time, my parents had to emancipate me so that I could do my hormone therapy and all that because they couldn't legally consent at that time.
Because you're 16, 17, yeah. And you actually started hormone therapy at that age.
At 16, yeah.
It's crazy to hear that because I remember being in high school. Obviously, I was in high school from 2003, 2002 to 2005. And I remember being in high school and there were transgender students who were all widely accepted throughout the school. And it's just crazy to hear. I don't know how different like Reno is than you were in a different area. You grew up in Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
But I remember being in high school and like it was like all the gay kids and trans kids were cool. They were like the cool kids, and it's just nuts to see like how far it's progressed. And I know there's so much hate towards the LGBT community still, and there probably always will be. But even just hearing what you just said and thinking about when I was in high school, everyone wanted to be friends with the gay kids and trans kids. They were the cool kids in school, you know. And like it's just crazy to like for me to see that transpire just in that short amount of time. Like, you know, gives me more hope. I know it'll never stop, but I think it's so. We've talked about this before too, especially with like dating and all that. But
shit show.
I mean, okay, I'll let you keep talking.
Yeah, I mean, it's come a long way. It's come a really, really long way. There's been so many more advances with like social groups and acceptance in school. It's pretty amazing. But to backtrack a little bit, so at 16, when they emancipated me, so that I could do what needed to be done, I also moved out of the house. I had a job, but I moved out of the house, and then that's when I found mainly drugs. Alcohol wasn't really a problem then. But then I got caught in this, like, what seemed to be a never-ending circle of hating myself because I wasn't in the body I knew I was supposed to be in, and doing drugs to cover that feeling.
Right.
And then doing stupid shit because I was on drugs, and then not being able to get out of that like continuous loop of just dumb, stupid, I need to change, I can't, like just over and over. I mean, and that went on for the better part of
your early 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah. Late teens, early 20s.
8 years.
Yeah.
I can't really do the math all the time. 6 to 8 years, we'll just say. There's a lot.
Roughly 1 to 14 years.
There's a lot of gray area, you know? I mean, I probably went to like 10 different rehabs and detox centers, and because I would want to quit, but then I wouldn't really want to quit, but like I knew I should quit because I wanted to like, you know, accomplish my goals with like gender confirmation surgery. And it was crazy. It was crazy, crazy, crazy.
Yeah. And so let's fast forward to when you actually had the surgery.
Oh my God, it was crazy.
Huh?
Another crazy experience.
Right.
Yeah.
But the one thing that's really cool about your family too, I mean, obviously I've only actually met your mom in person, and she's amazing. She loves you so much. Like I had like a mental, like huge heart to heart with her on the couch. I was crying and I was like, you raised the most amazing child. I'm sobbing. And she's really great because she thinks the absolute world of you, and she's so proud of you. She's so proud of everything you have done. And it's been a lot. Like you've lived a life.
It's crazy. Like I'm not super emotional.
Yeah.
because I've held a lot in for a lot of years. I've like blocked myself from being emotional. But like when I do think of my family, I do get emotional because they're the epitome of just unconditional love.
Right.
Just like the whole family unit. Like what was that, 21 years ago? Not a lot of people knew what transgender was or meant or anything involved with it. But my family accepted it with open arms. Like I only lost like one family member as a friend.
That's really cool.
I mean, grandparents, brothers. My brother is 15 years older than me. He didn't understand it, but he knew that he loved me.
Right.
And when I had that surgery, he stayed all night in the hospital with me, held my hand all night long, you know? That was crazy. It was fucking crazy. Like,
we just fucking went to sleep with the wiener and woke up without one.
Yeah, it was really insane. I like had the luxury of having the surgery done in Palo Alto. So it was in this amazing surgery center. I mean, it was basically like a Hilton. You had your own private room. You don't really know that you're in a hospital type setting. And it was crazy. It was just, no matter how much pain it was just worth it to me to be confirmed in my own eyes.
Right.
Yeah.
So then what kind of transpired following that?
Well, I'd obviously quit abusing drugs.
Did you feel,
that?
Did you feel when you woke up like you thought you would feel? Like, did you feel like you were all of a sudden in the right body?
Yes. Just relieved.
You felt relieved and complete. So then how'd your life change from then on?
It's weird because even though I felt relieved and like confirmed because my body matched my mind, I was still stuck in this cycle of hiding.
Right. Because of that. Yeah, exactly. So I am by no means a spokesperson for the transgender community or an expert on this. Just because it's how I identify, it does not mean I'm an expert. But at that time, 21 years ago, like I said, it wasn't widely accepted. So I tried to live as stealth as possible. And stealth just means that you kind of like go undercover. And for me, I identified as female and I did anything that was required to maintain that label. So I didn't really openly discuss being transgendered. I was like very specific about who I told. I moved around a lot. I moved around physically, or like houses, towns, social circles, because if too many people would find out or it got too uncomfortable, I would just bail. So I created this very lonely life for myself because I wouldn't open up to people or like allow people that knew to talk about it. Right.
Like if I told somebody, I would tell them and then it was a mute subject and I never spoke about it again. And that was shitty. Yeah. Until I got out of that, I didn't realize like what a lonely life I had.
Right.
I mean, I was happy.
Right.
But on the deep inside, I was super, super lonely.
Right. And that's that. You know that. I mean, I can identify to that. It's possible to be happy and lonely.
Yeah.
So when I met you, I had no idea when I first knew you. I mean, obviously we became friends over Instagram, and then I remember when I found out, and I was just completely blown away. Like, had no idea. And then I'll never forget when you came to New York. You were this tiny little person, and I was just like, every time I've looked at you in my entire life, for as long as we've been friends, you're just a girl.
I came out in a very public way.
Right, obviously.
It was very unexpected for a lot of people. My nieces and nephews didn't know. I mean, and I'd been with them all their lives.
Yeah.
Right. So these were like conversations we had to have as families and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's, you know, like there's a lot of people who when like even it's, and I obviously this, you know, we talked about how this podcast is going to kind of be like a different way to come out about it, opposed to how it happened in the past. We won't go into that. But when people who I know or we know, like, or who we mutually meet together, and when you tell them, like, it blows people away. You know what I mean? Because everything about, not just your body and how you look and stuff, but like from your personality to your mannerisms to your emotions to how we talk about things, like everything about you is female. Everything. Like, you like to shop, and you like, and like how we dress, and all the stereotypical chick things, like that it's you know what I mean? And like, it's just always really funny to me because I was, I don't remember why I was thinking about it. I think you and I had a conversation, and I thought to myself, like, God, I've never once looked at you and said, like, Chloe used to be a dude. Like, it's never even crossed my mind at all whatsoever, you know? And I like, that's what's like, that's like getting to know you. I just look at you as my best friend. I don't ever even look at you as being transgender ever. And then sometimes people bring it up. Like, there's times where I forget. That's not how I like really label you. Just like how you probably never look at me as an alcoholic or an addict. Right. No. Exactly. You know, like it's not necessarily your defining characteristic, you know, but it's definitely something like you're really well known for in the industry. And I know a lot of people who look up to you for it because you're so open about like being comfortable in your body and in your skin and who you are, like what you've chosen to do with your body. Like, you have a beautiful body and the tattoos and everything. And I don't know, you're just a cool person, man.
Hey, thanks.
So let's talk about lifting and how you when did all that start? When did the lifting start?
Right before I turned 30.
Okay.
So 8 years ago, maybe. And it was all kind of around that, like, I'd been heavy into drugs. I'd quit doing the drugs so that I could like proceed with my surgeries and stuff. Then after that, I kind of like fell back into like drinking heavily. It was like, oh, party.
Yeah.
Like, I've had my surgery, party.
Yeah.
And that was like super self-destructive. And I did that for a couple years, and then I stopped. And then I think it's that typical, I'm cleaning up my life, I want to get healthy kind of thing. And I started running. I was a runner and I smoked.
I remember you telling me about this.
So weird. I don't know how I did that.
Super bizarre.
Because I can barely work out at, where are we? What is this called?
Elevation.
At Elevation. Hi, puppy.
Hi, puppies.
Oh.
I shouldn't have said that. Should just ignored him.
Running, and then I was like, oh, I'll get a gym membership. And then I think I got one to like Total Fitness in Santa Cruz. And I worked out there a little bit. And then I like stepped up my game, and I started working out at 24-hour fitness.
Dang.
Oh, a lot of cardio and core.
That's what I'm going to do today.
Yeah.
Some things never change.
And then I had like a friend that got me into Olympic weightlifting, and
so that happened before CrossFit?
No,
when did you
that was
start doing
like the same
CrossFit?
time,
Around
like
the same
30.
time?
Yeah. And then I just really enjoyed the push, and I've never viewed my body as masculine.
Nope.
Right. So I think this is
what, 5'4"?
Yeah, I'm 5'4".
5'4" and like 135, 40 pounds.
Yeah. I mean, and even
Optimally.
before, yeah. When I'm on track.
Best case scenario.
Yeah. I mean, even before lifting, I probably weighed like 125, you know?
Yeah.
I've never viewed myself in a masculine way, my body shape. So for me, working out, it was just natural. Getting bigger, it was just kind of like this natural process of how I wanted to look. I know I've had like transgender people like reach out to me and ask like how I dealt with that, you know? And for me, it wasn't a big issue at all. But some people go into their gender confirmation and transition feeling masculine, but they want to continue to work out. So it's like, for them, it's like trying to find this balance, which I think would be super, super hard.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, we have, you know, like obviously we have a couple of trans members at the gym, and I know that's something that they've all felt like reached out to you about, but it's hard to put yourself in someone else's shoes because genetics play a huge role as well, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I'm never going to be as fit as some of the women we work out with just because I don't have those genetics.
Right.
Just as like some guys I work out with will never be as fit as me because they don't have those genetics.
Right, exactly.
You know?
Yeah. Let's talk about dating, being transgender.
Yes, let's talk about that. But I want to go back to, I guess it kind of ties in. It totally ties in. So being transgender, because it's in the LGBT tagline. I think a lot of people think it has to do with sexuality. I've actually come across a few good friends in the last year that thought it was sexuality, and it has nothing to do with sexuality.
Right.
Being transgender doesn't mean that you're gay or straight.
Right.
It just means you're transgender. I could still be gay and date Chrissy, or I could be straight and date Ryan.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter.
Right. And you know what I have noticed too, like obviously with some of our transgender friends, a lot of them don't like to label themselves as gay or straight.
Yeah, I'm straight.
Well, I mean, like it's pretty
There's
common though.
You know, right now it's really that whole non-binary thing.
Right.
It's just being who you are.
I also think like not labeling yourself is really cool right now. I think like in all areas, whether it's fitness or your sexuality or your fucking anything, like your relationship, I don't know. I like the whole no label thing's like really in right now. So that might have something to do with it. But I have noticed some of our trans friends, I won't say names, don't like to identify as gay or straight.
Yeah, I mean, and that's fine. And for me, I identify as straight because there are some women that I'm super attracted to, but
you're terrified of vaginas.
I don't like vagina. I like having mine and that sort of stuff, but I'm like not into other people's vaginas at all. And then that's just my personal preference.
Right.
Like totally my preference.
I fucking love it. I live vicariously through Chloe's love life. Well, is that what you want to call it?
No.
Dating life. Dating fiascos. Chloe likes to date. She's the complete opposite of me. You can fucking pay me to go to dinner with a stranger, that's for sure. Chloe loves it. I mean, I get the free food component. That's rad. But yeah, I'm. I told who was I talking? I was talking to somebody about like it was one of our good friends. I don't remember which one it was about like how many dates you're going. Maybe it was Desiree. She was like, "Well, at least she's getting a bunch of free meals."
I'm so weird about that too. If I ask you to hang out, I assume I'm paying.
Right.
But if you ask me to hang out, I'm assuming that you're paying.
There you go.
I don't know if anyone else thinks that way.
I'm just used to paying for everything.
I mean dates.
Oh, well, I don't go on those, so I wouldn't know.
Okay, so what are we talking about? Dating?
So let's talk about what it's like dating as an attractive, fit female who has a big bomb to drop on people you meet. And I know we've talked about how every situation's unique depending on the person.
Everyone.
Right. So
sometimes I get nervous, sometimes I don't. I mean,
depends how much you like the person.
This conversation for 21 years, and I will tell you that it has not gotten easier.
Right.
Pre or post surgery.
Right.
For me at all, like, just has not gotten easier. It's still the most difficult conversation to have. I feel like it would be much easier for me to tell someone that their family member died or like their best friend died than this. I don't know.
And you have the conversation often.
Yeah, I mean, and I feel like I'm very open about being transgender, but it's not something that I talk about. I talk about all the time.
Right.
Like we're doing now.
Like a vegan CrossFitter.
Yes, like that. I don't like have a sticker on my car. I don't like, sometimes I tag my posts on Instagram, you know, sometimes I don't. That's just a personal preference. Right. I love it when people do. I just don't. I don't, maybe I'll change someday. Maybe I won't. And like with dating, it's like, I try to feel the people out. Right. But no matter what, it's like I'm constantly surprised. You never know.
Right.
You never
know
how some people are just totally turned off. Some people are totally okay with it. I think, now I could get a lot of shit for saying this, but I think because of the world we live in, the fitness industry, that there is a lot of ego. Yeah. A lot of masculinity like involved with that on the male side. So when guys don't know and they're attracted to me and possibly going to go out on a date, or we go out on a date and I tell them, it's a big blow
to their egos,
maybe to their masculinity, which baffles me because it's
fitness dudes that are like that though.
It does baffle me. Like I try to be empathetic and be like, okay, like if I was in this situation, what would I do? But I don't know. Guys trip out, man. They trip out sometimes.
I think that a lot of, based off like who we're friends with and who we know and whatever, I have found that a lot, and here's the other thing, I'll say this. Our guy friends that we have that get to know you, it's almost like at first they would be weird by it, but then once they spend time with you and get to know you, then they'd be completely okay with it. Have you noticed that with a lot of our guy friends? Like, or anybody I've introduced you to here where we're like, it's like kind of right at first, they're like, I don't know. But then they get to know you and they're like, oh yeah. And I think that's something too. But I mean, you're very honest about it, and you always like to, like, it seems like you'll go on a date with someone, and then if you want to go on a second date, you tell them beforehand. That kind of seems to be your...
I mean, it's super tricky, right? Because it's sometimes I want someone to get to know me before they have the chance to prejudge me on something that they don't probably know anything about.
Right.
That I'm probably their first experience with. Now, granted, we all have something.
Right.
Everybody has that thing about them that they're terrified to tell someone else.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? I just choose to rip that Band-Aid off quickly, usually. It's weird. I mean, it's weird being rejected for something that
made you feel whole and complete.
Yeah,
Something
exactly.
Something that you needed in order to accept yourself, but then to have somebody else not accept it.
Yeah. Sometimes it hurts more than others. Sometimes I'm like, well, whatever.
Right.
But for me too, it's like I have to be really cautious because, like, there's this thing called tranny chasing, or being like a tranny chaser.
Yeah. We talked about that.
There are people that are just into having sex with people that are transgender. And so it's like, well, I don't want to be someone's like thing.
Like a fetish thing.
Yeah. You know, so
Yeah,
it's like I have to like watch out for that too. And I mean, but like the same thing could happen for like anything really, I guess. But it's weird. And I would love to say that I could say it's Reno. It's the Reno men or whatever. And it's just society. You know what I mean? And I think it just takes time to like chisel away and make it more acceptable, more of a normal thing. I'm really popular with like the 23 to 24 year olds.
Hey now.
Like that
robbing that fucking cradle.
That 19 to 24 crowd. I think, but it's the millennials, right? They're younger, they're more accepting. They've been exposed to this stuff for longer. So it's not such a big deal.
Right.
But I'm also 37. So really, I'm not going to have that much in common with a 23-year-old besides like a sexual drive.
Right.
You know, I mean, to be honest.
Right.
There might be some rare exception.
Right.
I don't know.
How do you usually meet people?
I love to meet people organically. Sometimes it happens at Whole Foods. Sometimes it happens
in my living room. Sometimes it happens
in coffee shops.
Yeah.
A lot of it happens on Tinder.
That's super organic.
It's computerized organic. I mean, Tinder is just a shit show, period.
Tinder's
so it's like, I mean, I don't think you can really like take my experience off of that.
Right. Well, I think you even kind of said that for a while you were almost just bored.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm
like,
totally bored with it right now.
Yeah.
Like I have a friend that I met on the Tinder.
Yeah.
And we've never actually met yet because he lives like 2 hours away. But we must have been talking for like 2 months. And he wanted to wish me a happy birthday, remember?
Yeah.
He wanted to wish me a happy birthday, so he went on the internet to try to find like a meme or something with my name in it so he could send it to me as a happy birthday. And then he actually like he like came across me being transgender on the internet. And he's like, well, this is an interesting story. I was like, yeah, isn't it?
Weird.
So, I mean, things like that happen, but
yeah. I don't know. It just seems like another thing that I've noticed too is I think that a lot of dudes are okay with it, but there's fear as to what their friends and family might think.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, obviously, we can all sit around and say, oh, I don't care what anyone thinks about me, all we want. But to an extent, there is something that you care how someone thinks about it. You know what I mean? And I think that that's definitely another issue. I think you've probably come across a lot of dudes who have found out who really, they took the time to get to know you, whether it was over the course of like 1 date, 2 dates, 3 dates, and they really liked you. And I don't think the issue was you. I think the issue was, fear out of what
other people think.
Other people would think about them for being with someone
common.
who's transgender,
yeah,
right?
I think that's super common.
Yeah.
I'm also not like a relationship forcer.
Right.
And we've talked about this.
Yeah.
Like, this is my personal thing.
Yeah.
Like, I think I've only tried to reconcile one relationship after it ended. Mm-hmm. So I much rather be alone than be in a forced relationship.
Or a shitty one.
Yeah. Like if things aren't going right and I've tried to fix it and it doesn't work, I just leave.
Mm-hmm. That's the way you got to do it.
Yeah.
There's lots of weights dropping out there. Let's talk more about you as a person not being transgender.
Cool.
Because I don't want this to just be about like, Chloe's transgender and that's all we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how much you love animals. And let's talk about your really weird plant hobby.
It's not weird.
It's not a hobby either.
It's not weird.
Let's talk about that.
How much I love animals.
But you still eat them.
I love all the creatures. I think that all the creatures are adorable.
And I get made fun of for switching to vegan a couple months ago.
Yeah, I do like rescue all the insects that come out. Like all the insects that are in the house, I rescue and put outside. We have like a hornet nest outside that was stinging our dogs. So I had to spray the hornet nest and remove it. That was a little traumatic for me because I still don't want to kill all those little innocent insects because they're just doing their life. Mm-hmm. But what's wrong with my plant? My love for plants.
So it's Chloe will be walking down the street and she'll be like, do you know what plant that is? Do you know what tree that is? And I'm like, no. And then she'll tell me the name of it and then tell me like what conditions it grows in and how much you need to fucking water it and it could survive at these temperatures. And then I hear it when we're going through the woods. I hear about just everything.
I love plants.
How'd you get into that?
My mom. Mm-hmm. My mom used to force me to help her in the garden when I was little.
She's super into it.
Yeah.
I got a tour day garden when I was at her house, and I got to learn about what every single plant was called.
It's like the magical garden.
It's very enchanted.
Things growing over and hanging and wispy and flowers. And
it's very magical.
So she forced me to do it. I hated it. And then all of a sudden I started loving it. Mm-hmm. And so I just kind of learned about all the kind of like landscaping plants and trees in our neighborhood and in our state, things like that. And now that we're backpacking more, I want to like get more into it and learn what's in the areas we're going to and what's edible and what's not. Just in case we get stranded in the middle of nowhere.
We should know what's edible because I almost ate a fucking berry off a plant the other day and I was like, no, I remember what happened into the wild. So for those of you who don't know, Chloe runs Donuts and Deadlifts. She's my general manager for Donuts and Deadlifts. She basically moved out to Reno back in March. Mm-hmm. To help me out and kind of pursue things here, next chapter in her life. And then it started off as her working at the gym, and I needed a new general manager for Donuts and Deadlifts, so she stepped up. And then now together we are starting an outdoor company, Chlo Supply Co. That's a podcast for another time, but we're really excited about that, creating an outdoor brand kind of encompassing the Donuts and Deadlifts motto. Chlo stands for Eat, Lift, Live Outdoor. So, obviously, I mean, I guess you could call us athletes. We compete and stuff, and sometimes we train.
I just feel like since we started backpacking, or I started backpacking with you, and learning more about it, it's just another direction of fitness for me.
Right.
Because now I want to train like more heavy pulls, more heavy carries, like... Because you need to do that stuff if you're taking that 40-pound sack, you know?
Absolutely. So, it's, definitely we try really hard not to be one-dimensional. So we're really excited about Chlo Supply Co. What else do we have going on? Just fucking living the good life.
We're going to do that. Winter's coming, so I'm going to
Winter's been coming on Game of Thrones for fucking 6 seasons now, by the way.
I've get a couple trips in this fall, maybe fall and winter. Summer, we just seem to be too busy for me to go anywhere.
Yeah, we're all over the place. one thing I just want to say about who you are as a person, I'm going to cry. You have contributed more to my life than probably anyone ever has. And like, you helped me be a better business owner, and you aren't afraid to tell me when I'm being shitty or when I need to be a better boss or a better friend or when I've needed to be a better girlfriend when I've been in a relationship. You've known me a really long time. And you're like family to me, and you're the single most important person in my life. And I love it when other people see in you what I see, and I'm constantly trying to, show other people what I see in you, because obviously there are always going to be hateful people out there. I've had people leave nasty comments on pictures of me and you on my Instagram.
So weird.
And instead of ignoring it, I send them a DM. And instead of tearing into them, I just fucking shower them with niceness and love, and I just talk about what a great person you are, and and it's like, if you're listening to this, please keep an open mind, and keep in mind that everyone's a human being, and we all go through shit, and someone's choices of what they choose to do with their body, like, it doesn't
mind
really,
and spirit, yeah,
right. It doesn't really concern you, and it's never going to be your place to judge or say anything hateful or hurtful towards somebody just because they're different than you. And I think a lot of I've made it really clear how I feel about racism and how I feel about bigotry and how I feel about hateful comments, like the F word. I don't even like to say it. Faggot. I hate that word. That's right up there close to the N word for me.
That word was scratched on my locker in freshman year, and the principal wouldn't have it taken down because he said I had to learn a life lesson.
Yeah, and people say that they think I'm fucking crazy because obviously, I don't ever want to compare sexuality to racism or anything like that, but that's a hurtful word. Saying faggot's a very hurtful word in my opinion, and it drives me absolutely insane when people say mean shit to you because they don't. Anybody that knows you in person knows you're just an incredible human being, and
I think too, like, off of that, like, I think it's one of the things that frustrates me the most, and I think a lot of transgender people take this role on as well, which I've never learned to let go, is that I don't want other people, like my friends or family, to have to deal with criticism or rude remarks from other people because of my life choice.
Right.
I can't control that, but it's also the thing that I hate the most, right? And that I don't want to happen. And it's always going to happen. Because for me, I'm super non-combative.
Right.
If people like leave me hate mail or like hateful comments and stuff, I never ever.
That's the way to do it.
I never interact with them. I just delete it.
They just want to get to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting having you and Q as my two best friends.
It's diversity
day every day. But yeah, I don't know. You're incredible. You're my favorite person that's ever existed, and you're the only person. You and actually the two people in this room are the only people I can tolerate for endless amounts of time. So I don't know. You're rad, and I'm really glad you decided to do this.
Me too. I think it needed to be done.
Yeah, I think so.
It needed to happen again.
Yeah. Well, do you have anything else to add?
I'm just a person.
Right. That's in the person. Just a person.
I don't know. Don't be afraid to reach out to me if you want to reach out. I am like horrible at responding sometimes.
I was just going to say, do you want them to?
But I do, sometimes people reach out to me and they just want to talk really quick or get some advice. I'm not, like I said, I'm not an expert. I don't have all the answers. I really only know what I did in my life in the last 21 years.
Right. That goes with anything. Even sometimes like that, that's the same with me and my sobriety. I'm no fucking expert on sobriety at all. But what I can do is share my experience and things that I did that worked for me and things I went through just to give people something to relate to so they don't feel alone. And that's all it comes down to, is knowing you're not alone in whatever you're struggling with, whether it's gender identity, sobriety, anything. So thanks for being you, man.
Hey, thanks for having me in your life.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Ryan.
I thought you were going to say thanks for having me on the podcast. I was like, you're on it all the time, yo. Thanks for being super quiet, right, Face? Just kidding. I like it when you talk, FYI. Right, Face
feeling
is
good today.
Oh yeah, Ryan has a sinus infection.
Again.
Right, Face is very intelligent, and I wish he would chime in more.
One of the smartest people I've ever met.
Thanks, guys.
You're welcome. I'm going to force Ryan to talk on the next podcast. It's just going to be him and me.
All right.
Maybe I'll interview Ryeface. Who knows?
Hey.
And
Toodaloo.
in the meantime-
Okay, bye.
Toodaloo, motherfuckers.